Finding percent of a number. To find percent of a number, change the percent to a fraction or a decimal and then simply multiply. Now you can use mental math for some of the easier ones like 100%, 50%, 10%, or 1%. And you can do those pretty easily in your head. I'll show you how to do that. And you should always do this. I'll show you how to do this at the end with make sure to check your answers you figure out by the percent of a number just by estimating at the end. Just check it by estimating using sort of the benchmarks of estimation. So here we go, finding the percent of a whole. 25% of 240. So all I'm going to do is, well, 25%, that's 25 over 100. I know that that's a quarter, but I'm going to do this the long way just in case it isn't a quarter. 240. Remember, 240 is just 240 over 1. So I can simplify this one by going ahead and, well, divide that by 10, divide that by 10. Divide this 10 by 2, and now I got 5 on the bottom here. Divide this 24 by 2, and I got 12. Just simplifying ahead of time. So now all I've got is, I've got 25 over 5 times 12. So that's going to be 25 times 12, well, that's going to be 300. Divided by 5. 5 goes into 300. A total of 60 times. So that's how you do it with fractions. When you do it with decimals, it's even easier. So 1.4, so that's 140% as a decimal, times 80. Do this, well, what's 1 times 80? 80. 0.4 times 80 is going to be 32. So we have 80 plus 32, so that's going to be 112. Now when you use mental math, it's pretty easy just with something like 10%. All you do is you move the decimal point over one space. So all we have is 32.8. All you're moving is the space over. Remember, when you're dividing, this means you're dividing by 10 because it's 10%. So over here we got 51% of 128. That's a little bit harder, but not all that much harder, because this here is going to be 50% of 128 is going to be half of it, so that's going to be 64. Just write this out to show you. And then 1% of this is going to be 1.28. So the total is going to be 65.28. And so that's pretty easy to do. Now over here, estimate each answer. When you estimate, you're choosing benchmarks. And benchmark for this, 27%, remember that's 27 over 100. That's like a quarter. And going back to that problem, we just did 20, this is a quarter times 240. So it's just going to be 60. That would be a good estimate. Now 34% of 154, well, if we're just asking for an estimate, this is going to be 33.333, so that's a third. And this we change to about 150 because that divides easily by, that divides into three pieces easily, so it's just going to be about 50. Remember, these are estimating, so it's not exact. So here, and here I just want to pull this up. This here is a chart I found that's which represents Pac-Man. This whole section here would represent Pac-Man. This part here does not represent Pac-Man. Now if this whole thing was 200, I want to say it was 200, the space is 200 for the value of that, then about 80% of it represents Pac-Man. So if we do that, we can go ahead and go, well, if we wanted to estimate, we could go, well, what's 10 of that? That's going to be, 10% of that is going to be 20. And what's 8 times 10? So that's going to be 160. Out of 200 is what represents the whole Pac-Man. And if this whole big circle is the full amount. There we go.